Hey everybody, it's Amanda. I think my neighbors are doing some yard work, but I went, oh, and I got my hair cut. What do you think about that? Yep, I cut a lot off, and it was actually down to almost my bottom. And when they cut it a little shorter than I wanted them to, because I wanted to kind of get some length off and get it evened out for the wedding. And I'm okay with it. It just took me a minute. Anyway, I wanted to give you a quick update on the garden, which is why we're going to tolerate that noise for a minute. I'm going to take you around back and we're going to look at it. Okay, so my weed whacker is broken. I have to get a new one, but I'm not buying anything new until after the wedding. So you're going to see really tall grass between the beds. Ignore it. But I'm showing you these beds because I want you to see what they look like right now. And it's fall. Well, it's time for fall gardening. And I'm not sure what I want to do with them, so I need your advice. Okay, so with that being said, let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so this bed right here, and ignore the tall grass, this bed next to it, right? This is zucchini. Back over there is cantaloupe, zucchini. In the middle right here, you probably can't see it, is some celery. In the middle here are 6 things of celery. Now this, by the way, let me just show you. There's this weed right here that no matter how often I dig it up, it keeps coming back. I have no idea what it is. But here's a little celery, there's a little celery, and all that's supposed to be cantaloupe, but I never got a cantaloupe out of it. I never got a cantaloupe out of that. In fairness, the deer kept eating this. And I have a really big zucchini plant and a really tiny zucchini plant, neither of which produced zucchini. So, I don't know. So my question with these 2 beds is, should I just dig them up, take everything out? That's not producing, that's not producing, that's not producing, that's not producing. Should I just give up on them? And the celery's kind of small. This bed's bigger. Let me show you this one. Okay, so see that celery? It's bigger, but it's still not big. So should I just cut it out? I don't know. Not sure what to do with that, but I think it's time to just refresh everything. So let me show you the tomatoes. Okay, so this right here is my, what are they? Cherokee purple. And you can see, we just had a major storm the other night, and I took I'll show you them in the house. I took almost all the Cherokee purple off. It was covered in it, but there's some buried. Let me take you around here and you can see them. See that beautiful little buddy right there, looking all good? So there's a couple, some on the bottom too. I don't know if you can see one buried back there, but he's there. So this one has actually been a really full plant and it's produced super well, but it's kind of getting to the end. So maybe I should just pull it out and take those last few and pull up this bed too. I don't know. These were my Romas. They also produced really well. I also took everything out. I mean, I have seriously been pruning everything. I pulled out some plants that weren't producing. This is my last 2 Romas. This over here, I forget the name of this. These were Mr. Stripey and German Johnson. And I have not pulled a single tomato. First of all, it didn't have very many at all to begin with. I haven't pulled any of these. They're still very small. I kind of want to leave it just to see what it turns out to be. But, I mean, that's all that I have. And I literally pulled nothing off of that. This is a big jumble. This was a lot of tomatoes. This has definitely been trimmed, but this is several different plants, and you can see these need to be pulled off. I have some little tiny tomatoes that are still on there, and I have a few big ones here and there. This one's still producing. I might leave it up for a while. Don't know what to do with it. But I'm still toying with the idea of just pulling all these beds out and just completely refreshing for fall. Right here is this bed that has not been planted yet. I know what you're saying, Amanda, it's been like a month. I know. Haven't had time. This is my kale and my peppers. My kale has been non-stop throughout the summer. I just cut this back and we still have this to cut back. I did pull out some of the lacinato kale because it was really starting to not produce very much. I really need to trim back the Russian red and take some of that off, but this one tastes so good that I just haven't really been focusing on this one and just been letting it grow. And then back here, these are our pepper plants, and I think I got like 2 or 3 peppers off of it because something kept eating the leaves, and now it's just kind of hanging out there. So you can see why I'm thinking about, like, maybe it's time to just pull it all out and start fresh. I do have back here, my compost pile back here, which hasn't been turned in a while, so I don't think that it's really in a place to actually be used in our garden area yet. I think that's going to have to wait until the spring, but this could amend it. Right here are a lot of the tomatoes that I pulled off the vine before the storm, and they're still ripening. This is some of the Cherokee Purple. They're really pretty. They're really nice. I don't know why they did this cracking, except I did read something about if they weren't watered evenly. I'm still trying to get in the habit of water. Like, I don't really know how long I should stand out there and water, so I'm still trying to get a handle on it, but I did try to be semi-consistent, but I guess I didn't do as well with the Cherokee Purples as I did with some of the other tomatoes. These aren't really ripening as quickly because I pulled these all at the same time. So, and then I have these others. So this is a little variety I have sitting on my windowsill. And some are ready for use and some are not, but we've been pulling from them here and there. And so this is what we have in terms of tomatoes. Now I know it probably doesn't look like much for you pro gardeners, but for me, that is like my biggest garden haul ever. Like, I've never grown anything. Many years we were not successful enough to put a single thing on our table. So the fact that this year we've had tomatoes pretty steadily, you know, just one at a time, but pretty steadily, and now this is the most we've had. And we've had kale in all shapes and forms. We did have carrots. We did have 1 pepper. I mentioned it in another garden update video I'll link at the top. But we've had some things, and this feels like a success. Like a first-year success, but a success. But now that the summer season is kind of ending, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this might be a good time to start all of them fresh. I do have some trifecta, side note. So let me know if you think I should use that to add and supplement, because maybe that's why things aren't growing well. And I wanted to show you the seeds that I have here that I'm thinking about putting in for the fall, and you guys can let me know which ones you think would be best, because I have all of this variety. Let me know what you think. Okay, so I definitely might want to do some more lacinato kale. And by the way, I've kind of divided these up into how big of a space they need. This is supposed to take 3 feet, right? So this cut, but you know, I planted it before and I didn't put anywhere near 3 feet between them, but that's just what it says. I also have these cauliflower. I have snowball cauliflower, several of them in different forms, but I've never grown them successfully, even though they have been open and I have planted them. But I love cauliflower. I would use it if I grew it. This also needs 3 feet of spacing though. And then green beans. Can you even grow green beans in the fall? I don't know. You tell me. But this says it also needs 3 feet. So then I have this broccoli that needs 3 feet. I've never successfully grown any broccoli. I'd love to. We eat a lot of it. That would be nice. And then I have these different kinds of cabbage. These take 2.5 feet spacing because we're going from biggest to smallest. And I know these aren't, this is just people have sent me. I've done seed swaps. This is just stuff that we've gathered over the years. Some peas. Can you do peas in the fall? I don't know. This says 2.5 feet. Collards. I would love to have some collard greens. Just a thought. This takes 2 feet. This is a tomato. I actually have several other tomatoes. This is the only one I put in the pile because I wasn't sure if I wanted to try tomatoes again. This also takes 2 feet. Swiss chard. I planted this in the spring. I did have some pop up, but it wasn't terribly successful. This is 18 inches. This is another Swiss chard. It's also 18 inches, so maybe. Thoughts? Another green bean, but this one is supposed to only take 18 inches. I have some Bib lettuce, some Butter Crunch lettuce, and some Paris Island romaine lettuce. All of these are supposed to take 18 inches, and I haven't successfully grown lettuce yet, but it's a thought. Turnips. I'm not so much interested in the turnips for turnip's sake, and I actually have a purple top as well. These are supposed to only take 12 to 18 inches. And I haven't really eaten very many turnips themselves, but turnip greens I have. So it would be something to experiment with. So that's a thought. Kale and spinach. I probably will definitely plant these because I definitely eat them. So there's that. By the way, these take 12 inches. Carrots. They actually grew. I couldn't believe they grew because I actually had heard they were hard to grow. These are 12 to 15 inches. I'm probably going to do some carrots, guys. And then we have radishes, another spinach. These are only supposed to take 6 to 12 inches, so it doesn't take a lot of space. We don't eat them as much, like, I remember when we had them in the spring, we got a lot at one time, and I wasn't sure how to use them, and Rick was just kind of popping them in his mouth. I'd love to experiment more with roasting them, but, yeah, radishes. And then I didn't grow beets yet. But, you know, they don't take up a lot of space either. It says 12 to 18 inches, so this was another thought. So those are the seeds that I have. And like I said, I have other versions of those. Like I have more tomatoes, I have more radishes, I have more carrots. That's not a great angle, but, you know, we'll just go with it. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Should I pull up everything? Should I let those tomatoes go? What do you think I should start planting? I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you do if you were me? That's what I want to hear. What would you do if you were me? And I'm going to try. Keep in mind that we do have the wedding coming up, and I don't have a ton of time. So it's going to have to be, which is part of the reason why it's kind of not done as well as I would have liked. But I was very proud of myself for keeping them watered and keeping the tomatoes trimmed. I forget the word. But that was, you know, that was kind of a new thing for me this year. And I was just very glad that it was, I was keeping a semi-functional garden. We got food out of it. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. I want to get something in there for the fall. And that's that. So anyway, just wanted to give you a quick garden update. Get your thoughts on that. We have about 90 days until our first frost date. And so I chose things that were like 75 days or less out of my seed collection. I have many more things. This is just the things that are 75 days or less. Because I think it'll take me some time to get in there, dig it out, and get everything done. But anyway, let me know. Looking forward to hearing from you. And that's the garden update. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you guys next time.